Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Cordo. Peter Clayton, remarkable photographer, musician, and humanitarian, koala hugger as well, is behind the camera. Pete, you didn't mention yesterday the status of Harriet. Harriet the koala, rescued by the Koala Rescue Service, and Peter Clayton.
Yeah, I've got some photos and she's looking very, very well.
Can you put them in?
I certainly can.
How far away is the baby?
Well, it's just a little pink arm they saw. So it's spring. It'll be born in spring.
Well, it'll be wonderful in spring. Yes, I suppose nature times it, doesn't it? You wouldn't want to get born up here in the foothills in the winter time with the temperatures and the weather conditions, which are challenging, to say the least. But I don't know. You've got to get some pictures of the koala baby on her back.
I can't wait. Yes, I can't.
It's the most beautiful sight, isn't it?
Yes.
And I'm told that their approach to nature is such that mum looks after the baby, encourages it out of the pouch when the time is ready. And then when the baby's eating, the Joey is eating, she makes a unilateral decision that the time has come and that the baby must go. And quite ruthlessly, they just separate themselves from the baby. You know, that's it, kid, you're on your own. It's interesting, cruel, hard, almost ruthless lessons that nature provides.
Which we could all learn from.
Well, look, we all could learn from it, but we like to think that we are higher up the humanitarian ladder. But I don't think we necessarily, as we were talking about yesterday with the affirmative action and positive discrimination, I don't think we are doing anyone any favours. You know, life is hard, it's competitive, it's a battle, it's the survival of the fittest. And we get to be fit because we are going to survive. I mustn't get so worked up. Before we get into the stuff of the day, the things that are in the news, on your mind, close to your heart, getting up your nose, on your chest, which really should be on the air, but sadly because of the media in Australia, I have noticed not so much. Not so much. Anyway, July 5, Dolly the sheep, the first mammal to be cloned from an adult cell, born in Scotland in 1996. Dolly the sheep. On the same day in 1865, Great Britain creates the world's first speed limit law. Up until this day in 1865, there was not a speed limit law. But there wouldn't have been any cars around then, would there, Pete?
Well, I wouldn't have thought so.
Be horses and carts, chariots, carriages. Interesting. Oh, spam. Spam. I don't know why spam comes in for such a terrible depreciation of reputation. I don't know. I've never minded spam because we had spam was an American thing. The thing we had here, which of course we're far too affluent and upmarket to use or buy today. We had a thing called camp pie, which if you were, you know, a struggling family, as indeed mine was, you had to make sure that you had enough months. Well, you knew you were going to have too much months left over at the end of the money, but you had to make that money go as far as you could. And things like mince, I don't think kids today would even know what mince was. Or a hot pot with stew in it. I never liked stew, mind you, but, you know, it stuck to your ribs, kept you alive. But camp pie was, I think, and indeed, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think clam pie was our version of spam. Of course, these days, electronically, spam has a completely different meaning. But spam, they call it here the luncheon meat, first introduced into the market by Hommel Food Corporation in 1937. The world was a more humble and more, well, conservative place when it came to living. Volvo cars announce all new models by 2019 will be either hybrids or battery-operated electric cars. The first automotive manufacturer to do so. 2017. Now let me juxtaposition that, if I could, with this little story, which opened my eyes. This is the news, no, I was going to say today. In fairness, it came out yesterday. Car giant to scale back production of EVs at its Emden plant. I'm talking about Volkswagen. Company executives said demand for the all-electric models is down 30% on forecasts. I knew these forecasts were wildly ambitious, but I didn't know 30%. Volkswagen, the UK's most popular car brand for the last 2 years, apart from all the VW cars, of course, they own and manufacture Bentley, who have announced that they will come out with not only electric vehicles, but SUVs and stuff like that. In fact, I think there are a few running around Australia at the moment. The UK most popular car brand for the last 2 years is cutting production of electric vehicles, EVs, due to a decline in consumer demand. You are damn right. I knew that was coming. Pete was involved in travel for a long time, weren't you?
Many years, yes.
Well, Thomas Cook opens the world's first travel agency on this day in 1841. I'm assuming before this day people just got up and went. Didn't do anything with itineraries and plans and things. P.T. Barnum, American circus promoter and showman, Barnum and Bailey, was born in Connecticut. And I think yesterday I was telling you that Bailey was born. This is the day that P.T. Barnum was born. The day after, different years of course, this was 1810. Ian Fleming graduates from a training school for spies in Canada, 1942. I wonder, well, we all know where that took him. Ah, dear. Stamford Raffles, later to become Sir Stamford Raffles, British statesman and founder of Singapore, dies at the age of 44. I had no idea he died so young. 44. 1926 was the year. Singer Elvis Presley's first professional recording session with guitarist Scotty Moore, bass player Bill Black, takes place at Sam Phillips Memphis Recording Studios, the famous Sun Records in Memphis, Tennessee. The trio recorded 4 songs, including the now historic cover of Arthur Big Boy Crupert's song called That's All Right. Well, I never heard again of Arthur, but I sure did hear of Elvis Presley doing, well, that's all right, Mama. I thought that was the song he recorded for his mother's birthday. Wasn't that the story, Pete?
I don't know. But I did find something interesting.
What about Elvis?
Elvis's great-grandmother was an American Indian.
Oh, well, he kind of looks like an American Indian. Yeah, well, that's good. Good roots. Good DNA. Amazon.com was founded in Bellevue, Washington by Jeff Bezos. 1984. Amazon. Wow. Now there's a billion dollar company. Huey Lewis. His name was Hugh Anthony Craig, the third American musician, Huey Lewis and the News, born New York City in 1950. Love Really Hurts Without You, I think was one of them.
Oh, that was Billy Ocean, I think, wasn't it?
Well, that might have been Billy Ocean too. Huey Lewis and the News. Do you remember what he did?
No, I was never a fan, to tell you the truth.
I think he only had one hit that I can remember.
I just can't think of it.
Huey Lewis and the News. But someone will tell us in the encyclopedia, I know that. US Secret Service begins operating under the Treasury Department on this day in 1865. That was the year that the Civil War ended in America. Cecil Rhodes, British businessman, diamond merchant, an imperialist politician who was Prime Minister of the Cape Colony from 1890 to 1896. He was born in Bishop's Stamford, Hertfordshire, England, 1853. Cecil Rhodes, and now he's part of all that ridiculous cancel culture stuff where they don't want the Rhodes Scholarship and they don't want the pictures of him and they don't want any memory of him in Rhodesia. Well, Rhodesia was a wonderful, wonderful breadbasket of Africa. It's now a dust heap. Go figure. Compare. Singer Frank Sinatra, 41. And movie star Ava Gardner, 32. Divorce after 6 years of marriage, 1957. And Chester Greenwood, American inventor, he invented the earmuffs. Golly, are you trying to tell me to shut up?
Politely.
Okay. 1937, he was only 15, but he dies at the age of 78. Earmuffs. Chester Greenwood. Golly. Okay. Well, I suppose it not only seemed like a good idea at the time, it was a good idea at the time. Speaking of good ideas, I don't know whether this is one or not. I sort of doubt it. This proposed merger of the great Adelaide University and the prestigious University of South Australia. To say that it's contentious is an understatement. It's also now highly political. Now, it will be suggested, well, it's more than a suggestion now. It is the focus of an upper house inquiry into the business case to justify the merger. Seems the Premier does not want this to be revealed. Why not? Seems they really want to keep everything under wraps. The government is threatening that any delay is going to cost millions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I smell a rat. I really do. What is the public benefit of merging these two great places of higher learning, these two universities, which can boast Nobel Prize winners? We were talking about Lord Florey yesterday. These institutions of higher learning. Why do it? Why would you want to merge and then not want to explain why? What is it going to cost? Most importantly, I'd love to know this. Who was the consultant behind the advice to merge? This didn't just pop into the mind of the government. Why is, for example, a vice-chancellor of a university paid around $1 million a year? Why? Why does the government want to keep this merger from public view? Who made the decision to do any of this? As you can see, there are a lot of questions. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where we need an effective opposition and I'm sorry we do not have one, which is a disgrace. Everyone with liberal leanings or intentions should look at the current lineup of the Parliamentary Liberal Party and scratch his head. What's going on? Pat Dobson, who has taken medical leave from his parliamentary duties, and that was a few months ago, he's given a couple of interviews on the weekend, made some statements on the weekend. Basically, he believes, if I can paraphrase it, he believes that if the voice referendum is defeated, Australia's standing in the world would be reduced or diminished. I wonder if Pat Dobson could tell me of one other country in the world that has any similar arrangements to the voice. I cannot imagine, if no one else is doing this, why in heaven's name would we be criticised for having a few questions and half a brain? Give me a break. And would somebody please tell the media to develop some, well, chutzpah. Ask some questions. Let me say this. Some people, hopefully not a majority, but some people will not agree with what I'm saying. The truth is that the Aboriginal culture is like many native indigenous cultures in the world. They are profoundly misogynist. This translates into what we see and hear reported regularly, domestic violence. But women generally have a very hard time with these sort of tribal arrangements, if I could put it that way, that not only exist, but they rule. For example, recently in New South Wales, the government gave, and I remember many months ago reporting it to you, the New South Wales government gave title, land title. I don't know even if they were asked for it, but they gave the title to Mount Warning in northern New South Wales. They gave it to a local Aboriginal. I'm corrected. It is 55% of the land mass of Australia, to which Aboriginal people have been given the land or have legal title to the land. Thank you for keeping track of these things for me. If I miss something, I know you won't. And the media, of course, won't mention this either, and neither will the government. But quite frankly, I would think that's pretty, I won't say questionable, controversial.
Scandalous.
Could well be called scandalous. I mean, if you've got the money to go out there and buy 55% of the land mass of Australia and pay all the rates and the taxes and the property taxes and all the rest of it, God bless you. But this country is not there to be given away to anyone, regardless of the colour of his or her skin. And again, if you disagree with me, I'm sure you'll let me know. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jeremy Cordo. Sorry to get heated, but it gets to me. It really does get to me. It gets to me. We have a silent, compliant media, and we don't have an opposition that seems to have any gusto, or as I call it, chutzpah. Believe in yourself. I'm Jeremy Cordo. Peter Clayton and I will be back tomorrow. Bye for now.